Okay, think about this for a second. You wash your hands, you button into your jacket, maybe light a candle later, hang a picture, comb your hair, just, everyday stuff, right?
Totally automatic things. We never really stop and think about the actual objects involved.
Exactly. But that's what we're going to do today. Because these, well, pretty ordinary things, soap, buttons, candles, nails, combs, they each have these almost unbelievable histories.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking millennia of accidents, smart ideas, big cultural moments, all wrapped up in these things we use without a second thought.
Yeah, they're like tiny history capsules. So for this deep dive, our mission is kind of to dig into those hidden stories.
Uncover the origins, see how they changed.
Right. We're going on a journey back in time to really understand these everyday heroes. Get ready. It might get surprisingly interesting.
Should be fun. Let's jump in. Where should we start? Maybe something really basic like soap?
Soap, perfect. Keeping clean. Seems simple enough now, but it start ancient Babylon, like 2800 BCE. And the story goes, it might have just happened. Like maybe some potter notices that wood ash mixing with dripping animal fat makes this weird, slippery stuff.
And that's basically the chemistry, right? The alkaline ash reacting with the fat. It's a ponification, we call it now. Just someone noticing something useful.
But yeah, this early Babylonian soap wasn't exactly luxurious. Probably gritty, pretty harsh stuff.
Definitely. Good for cleaning pots, maybe? Less good for washing your face, I'd imagine.
Right, so maybe more for objects than people back then.
Seems likely. It makes you think about what clean even meant to them at the time.
Okay, let's jump forward. Ancient Rome. Big bathhouses, very social. They had their own soap, too. Olive oil, wood ash, lime, and they called it sapo.
Sapo. You can hear our word soap in there, can't you?
Totally. But here's the twist.
Yeah.
They used it mostly for laundry.
And, get this, hair dye sometimes.
Seriously.
Oh.
So not really for scrubbing down in the bath.
Apparently not. It seems they used oils and, scraping tools, strigils for actual body cleaning. Soap was for tougher jobs.
Huh. So the idea of soap for bathing came later.
Yeah, it seems it really picked up in the Middle Ages. Arab chemists started adding things like fragrant oils.
Ah, making it smell nice.
Yeah.
That would definitely help.
A big difference. Suddenly, it's not just functional, it's actually pleasant. More appealing for washing yourself.
That we get to the Renaissance, and soap becomes fancy. A luxury item.
Sort of, yeah. There's that famous story, maybe exaggerated, about Queen Elizabeth I bathing once a month.
Whether she needed it or not.
Wild. It shows how bathing and soap got tied up with status. For most people in medieval Europe, though, soap was expensive, taxed even.
So common folks just made their own, probably.
Exactly. Boiling up animal fat and ash, probably pretty rough stuff, smelly too.
Not quite the spa day experience.
Not at all. But they still needed to clean things, you know? Human ingenuity.
Okay, but then boom, 19th century. Industrial Revolution.
And suddenly soap gets cheap, mass-produced. Everyone can get it.
And that must have been huge for public health, right?
Yeah. Massive. Absolutely massive. Being able to easily wash hands and clothes made a huge difference in stopping diseases, a real turning point.
And now, well, you walk down the aisle in the store, bars, liquids, fancy artisanal stuff, everything.
Incredible variety, all stemming from maybe some accidental ash and fat mixture thousands of years ago.
It's quite a journey. Soap really is an unsung hero of hygiene.
Definitely. Its story tells us so much about health, culture, even chemistry.
Right, from suds to sketches, no fasteners. Let's talk about buttons.
Buttons. Tiny things, but essential. And again, a really long history. We're going back to the Indus Valley, maybe 2000 BCE.
Okay, but hang on. These weren't buttons like we think of them, were they?
Not at all. They were made of seashell, bronze, clay, but they were purely decorative. Ornaments.
So like little brooches or something? What held close together then? Ties? Pins?
Yeah, probably things like ties, pins, belts. These early buttons were more about showing off, maybe status symbols.
Interesting. So when did they become, functional?
That seems to be much later. Like 13th century Europe, the big innovation, the buttonhole.
The buttonhole. Seems obvious now, but that changed everything.
Completely. Suddenly, you could fasten clothes snugly, get a proper fit, easier to put on, take off. It was a fashion revolution, really.
And you could really tailor clothes then, make them more stylish.
Exactly. And the buttons themselves immediately became status markers again. Gold, ivory for the rich.
Wood or bone for everyone else.
Pretty much. You could tell someone's social standing by their buttons.
It got so serious they even had laws about it, right? Like in the 16th century, sumptuary laws.
Yeah, laws dictating who could wear what kind of fancy buttons, trying to keep the social order visible.
Crazy. Controlling buttons.
It shows how much symbolic weight they carried.
Then, same story as soap industrial revolution. Mass production.
Right. Metal buttons, then plastic. Suddenly they're everywhere, cheap and functional.
Did that change things beyond just making clothes easier to fasten?
Oh, yeah. It helped standardize clothing production, made ready-to-wear clothes possible for way more people. Big impact on the textile industry.
And then you get that Victorian button mania. What was that about? Button hooks.
Yeah, those boots with, like, dozens of tiny buttons. You needed a special hook just to do them up. And people collected fancy buttons, too.
Wow. A whole hobby around buttons.
You know, it's a different time valuing intricate little things.
And today, buttons are still everywhere. Clothes, sure, but also on devices, machines.
They really transition from pure decoration to these essential little fasteners, holding our world together in a way.
It's a great story, from bling to basic necessity.
A true evolution of function. Okay, where next? How about something that lights up our lives? Candles.
Candles, yes, the original mood lighting, and for a long time, the only lighting after dark.
Exactly. We're talking ancient Egypt again, maybe 3000 BCE for the earliest versions.
But these weren't quite candles as we know them, were they? More like,
reeds dipped in beeswax, basically. Proto-candles. Probably pretty smoky, drippy.
better than just an open fire, I guess. More portable.
Yeah, more controlled, maybe burned a bit longer, but still pretty basic.
It was the Romans who added the wick, right? That seems key.
Huge improvement. A proper wick, maybe papyrus or flax, controlled the burn rate, made it steadier, less smoky, more reliable light.
And think about it. For centuries, this was it. This was how people saw at night. It must have totally shaped how people lived.
Absolutely. Limited what you could do after sunset, made darkness a real barrier, and the quality of your candle that showed your wealth.
Right, like in medieval times. Monasteries might have the nice beeswax candles,
Clean burning, relatively pleasant.
while most people use tallow candles, made from animal fat.
Yeah, cheaper, but apparently they smelled awful, really pungent and greasy when burning.
Ugh, I can almost imagine. The smell of poverty, maybe.
It highlights that difference in daily experience, doesn't it?
Then, later on, 18th century, you get spermaceti candles from Wales.
Right, whale oil. They burned much brighter and cleaner. A big step up in quality.
Wales? Not exactly sustainable.
No, a huge environmental cost. The whaling industry around that time was pretty devastating. A good reminder about the hidden costs of progress sometimes.
Thankfully, the 19th century brings paraffin wax, a petroleum byproduct.
And that was the game changer for accessibility. Suddenly, candles were cheap, they didn't smell bad, everyone could afford decent light.
It really democratized light, didn't it? Changed society.
Massively. Extended the working day, allowed for evening socializing, reading, fundamental shifts.
And candles weren't just for light, were they? People used them to tell time.
Yeah, marked candles burning down over hours. And for signals, too, like secret meetings during the French Revolution.
Such a simple thing, but so versatile.
Deeply integrated into life.
And now, we still use them, but mostly for ambiance, right? That cozy feel.
Exactly. We have electricity, but we still reach for candles. They have this connection to the past, this symbolic power.
From essential tool to atmospheric touch, but always representing that fight against the dark.
A long, glowing history. Okay, how about we tackle something a bit more structural? Nails.
Nails. Good one. The things literally holding our houses together. We barely notice them.
Totally overlooked. But their history goes back ages. Ancient Egypt, again, maybe 3400 BCE. Hand-forged bronze, then iron nails.
Hand-forged. Imagine making every single nail by hand, hammering it out.
Insanely labor-intensive, which is why they were so valuable. Sometimes even used as currency, believe it or not.
Wow. Treating nails like coins puts that box from the hardware store in perspective.
Doesn't it? For centuries, that was the deal. Nails were precious, carefully made, saved, even pulled out of old buildings to be reused.
You wouldn't just hammer away carelessly back then.
Definitely not. Resourcefulness was key. Scarcity breeds careful use.
Until, guess what? The Industrial Revolution. Late 1790s.
Steam power and machine-cut nails. Suddenly you can churn them out.
What did that do to building? It must have been revolutionary.
Oh, completely. Nails became cheap, uniform, available in huge quantities. Construction got faster, easier, more consistent.
You could build bigger things, more complex things, much quicker. It must have fueled urban growth like crazy.
Absolutely. Think about the expansion of cities, infrastructure. Affordable nails were a quiet enabler of all that.
And think about, like, the American West. The railroads connecting everything.
Billions of nails holding those tracks together, essential for that expansion and development.
Even relatively recently, like World War II, there were nail shortages.
Yeah, materials were diverted. It forced people to get creative with other fastening methods, which just shows how much we come to rely on them.
And now they're just everywhere, in everything from giant buildings to IKEA furniture.
Completely ubiquitous. We don't even think about them, but they're fundamental.
Amazing. The silent heroes of construction.
Their history really shaped how we build our world. Okay, one more. How about combs?
Combs, yes.
Yeah.
Taming the mane.
Yeah.
Another ancient one, right?
Super ancient. Back to Persia, maybe 5000 BCE. Early ones made from bone, wood, simple tools.
So people cared about their hair way back then, too. Was it just for looks or more practical?
Both, probably. Managing hair, yes, but also hygiene, getting rid of lice and dirt and things.
All right, the less glamorous side of grooming.
Yeah.
And they weren't always plain, were they? Sometimes decorated.
Often, yeah. Which suggests they had social meaning, too. Status symbols, maybe? The Egyptians even buried combs with people?
Buried combs. Wow. So important items for the afterlife, perhaps.
Seems that way. Suggests they were more than just tools. Tied to identity, beauty.
And you find combs everywhere, different cultures. Vikings, Mayans.
Made from all sorts of local materials, tortoiseshell, ivory, fish bones sometimes. It shows it's a pretty universal human thing, caring for hair.
I read somewhere that in medieval Europe, giving a comb was a traditional wedding gift.
Yes, a nice gesture. Practical, signifies care, setting up a household. A symbol of domestic life, maybe.
Sweet. Then fast forward again. 19th century, plastic arrives.
And suddenly, like with soap and nails, combs become cheap and accessible to absolutely everyone.
Made daily grooming much easier, more common for everybody.
Exactly. Helps standardize that aspect of personal appearance.
And combs can carry real cultural weight too, can't they? Like jade combs in China or Afro combs in the 60s.
Oh, definitely. Jade comb signifying wealth or status. And the Afro comb became such a powerful symbol of Black identity and pride.
It's amazing how a simple object for hair can become loaded with so much meaning.
It shows how everyday items get woven into our cultural stories, our identities, even our politics.
So from bone fragments pulling out lice 7,000 years ago to symbols of cultural pride. That's quite a victory for the humble comb.
It really is a continuous thread of grooming, hygiene, style, and identity.
Wow. Okay. Soap, buttons, candles, nails, combs. Who knew? These things we barely glance at have these, well, epic backstories.
It's incredible, isn't it, how much history and ingenuity is packed into the most ordinary objects. They weren't just invented, they evolve.
Through accidents, necessity, clever ideas.
And they really do mirror basic human stuff. Wanting to be clean, looking presentable, needing light, building things, taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, it's all reflected there. Makes you appreciate these analog MVPs, you know, in our super digital world.
Totally. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the ones that stick around because they just work.
Right. So here's something for you listening right now. Look around. Pick something totally ordinary near you. A spoon, maybe? A key? Your glasses?
Yeah.
And just take a second. Imagine its story. Where did it start? How did it get to be the way it is now? What journey has it been on?
It's a great exercise. You start seeing the hidden history everywhere.
Because these everyday things, they really have played a huge part in, well, everything, in shaping human history.
And they're still here, silently watching our lives unfold, carrying echoes of all that past.
Makes you think, doesn't it? These everyday heroes have seen millennia fly by. What stories would your everyday objects tell about you?